Friends, the very birth of our ego starts with our own birth. The moment you are born, your parents give you a name, and slowly, you start identifying with that name, and then you start believing that that is your name. And then, as you start growing up, then you start identifying with more with your friends, with your teachers, your people around you, your parents, your job, your body, your problems in life, your social media, and then you really expand your ego. Then we started depending on happiness on things outside of us. So only when I buy this product, then I'll be happy. And then, because whatever we do in our life, we actually do it for an emotional payoff. So if I buy that product, then I'll get that emotional payoff. Suppose you want to buy a new car, and the moment the car comes, you feel so excited, but that excitement remains only for 2 days. For the time being, the dopamine rush desensitizes feeling, but whenever that novelty wears off, the feeling right come back. So behind every substance addiction, actually there is an emotional addiction. And wherever we place our attention, wherever our wherever our attention goes, our energy flows. So when you're a child, initially you always thought that happiness is a state of being which you were so happy for no reason. Without any reason you are so happy. But as we started growing up, we were meant to believe that happiness really exists outside of us. So if you have so many friends, then you will be happy. If you're in such school, then you'll be happy. If you get these toys, then you'll be happy. If you have certain friends, then you'll be happy. And then all the things around that, our friends, and that determined a culture scape. So your teachers, your preachers, your friends, your trends, your father, your mother, your religion determined your culture scape, your belief system. But over a period of time, as you started growing up more and more, you started drawing more and more, you started collecting more and more debris or layers of ego into your consciousness. Being the expanded consciousness you were when you were born, you became a very restricted consciousness, because we became contained in the box of our ego, and it became our strong identity self. The anatomy of a ego. So anatomy of a ego means what is the conditioning of the ego, what is the core of the ego, how the ego is formed, how the ego takes birth. So let's go a little more in detail about that. Friends, there are two conditioning of the ego. The ego conditioning is twofold. One is content and one is construct. So suppose there's a car. It's been lying in the showroom for 6 months. But the moment you pay the money and you buy that car and you bring the car home, then you say it's my car. Now you're identified with that car. So the construct is identification. Identification means mine. When you say it's my car, when you say it's my house, that is the identification. So this house may be for sale for 5 years, but the moment you buy the house, then you say it's my house. You have identified with that house. So in fact, in Latin, identify means same. You have become one with that house. You have become one with that car. So that identification can be physical or psychological. And that physical or psychological part forms the content part. So when I say content, it means tangible and intangible. So among the tangible things are the things or the body, and among the intangible is the form. So for example, so your house can become your car, it could be your relationship, it could be a pen, it could be anything. And the construct is the identification. So this identification can be physical or psychological. So when you talk about things or body, then it is physical, and when it is about form, it is psychological. So friends, the content is interchangeable. The content keeps changing on, but the structure remains. The construct remains. And that is where that identification remains. That is the problem. That is where the whole misery starts. So there are three types of content. One are things, body and form. So let me first start with things. So when you were a child, you identified with the thing called toy. So then you said it's my toy. If the toy is broken, you would cry because you identified with that toy. And as we grow up, the toy turned into a car or a house or a designer label or products. But all these are what? All these designer label or products are what? These are identity enhancers. You want to buy a product because it's a limited edition, because it has a high price. So that you can show people that you can afford something so expensive. And that enhances your ego, that boosts your ego, that validity of the people, that recognition of the people that you can afford so much enhances your ego. So now your identity is by what you have. I am what I have. But the fact is, by labeling me, I am only negating myself. Your I is only reducing you. So rather than saying it's my wealth, I should be saying I am the custodian of this wealth. Rather than saying it's my home, I should be saying I am the caretaker of this house. So sometimes you say somebody passes away, you say he died or he lost his life or my life, as if life is something that you possess or you can possess or lose. The truth is, you don't have a life, you are the life. And it is not only on a personal sense, friends, even in terms of economic. The whole economic growth parameter is based on how much are we consuming. It's all based on consumerism and capitalism. If we say the economy is growing by 5%, that means we are growing. During lockdown, if people are buying less products, so we say it's a degrowth, it's a recession, it is bad for the economy. So the whole concept of consumerism makes us believe that it's great to have this. It's great to have a product. It's great to buy the product. It's great to possess so many things. And as a society, we have fallen into that trap. So that does not mean that things are bad. That does not mean that it's wrong to own a thing or it's wrong to buy a product. But we need to honor a world of things, not despise them. But we need to understand that the distinction between identification and enjoying the product. You may enjoy it, but without identification. Then even if you lose it, it will not give you pain. You will not suffer. So the second part of the content is body. So body represents your gender, your appearance, your looks, whether you're beautiful or ugly, or how do you look in relative to others, or your physical strength or weakness, or a problematic body or a pain body, and how we identify with this body. Right? So much of our time goes in identification with our body. So that is the second form. But the good news is we can be aware of our inner body also. It is the doorway out of the prison, which is the ego. So it anchors us in the present moment. Once we become connected with our consciousness, with our source, then we do the separation. With our body, we are with so much of your consciousness or awareness in our body, we lose our connection with the source. We are being separated from the source. So the third content of the ego now, friends, is form. So the form represents your social position, your reputation, your image in the society, your physical ability, or your nationality, your religion, your social media connects. So these are all psychological or intangible, right? So I am what I do from what I accomplish. And these are the recurring primary thought forms and conditioned mental and emotional patterns that are invested with the sense of I. So your ego arises when your sense of beingness of I am, or your source energy, which is formless, your consciousness gets mixed up with that form, with that social position or with that reputation. You identify with that. The moment you identify with that, now the ego arises. So when you accept things the way they are, it softens the ego. You're more open to life. But when you're living in a state of resistance, it hardens the shell of the ego. You're more closed. You're always complaining, resisting.